Why war has shaped the world more than any other force. But behind every epic victory, every fall of an empire, and every decisive battle, there stood one mind, cold, calculating, and brilliant. Today, we dive deep into the 12 greatest military generals in human history, from ancient phalanxes to modern blitzkrieg. These commanders didn't just fight wars, they rewrote history. Who were they? What made them legends? And why does their legacy still echo on today's battlefields? Strap in. This is Greatest Generals in History. And it starts now. Alexander the Great. At just 20 years old, he inherited his father's throne. By 32, he ruled most of the known world. Alexander the Great wasn't just a conqueror, he was a phenomenon. His enemies? The mighty Persians, Egyptians, and Indians. His weapon? A highly disciplined army built around the unstoppable Macedonian phalanx. At Gaugamela, outnumbered 5-1, he outmaneuvered and outthought Darius III. At Tyre, he built a causeway across the sea to breach an island fortress. Alexander blended courage with strategy, always at the front lines. And though he died young, his influence outlived him by centuries. Quote appears on screen, "There is nothing impossible to him who will try." Alexander the Great. Khalid ibn al-Walid, feared by Persians, Romans, and rebels alike. Khalid ibn al-Walid was the undefeated sword of early Islam. His nickname? The Sword of Allah, and he earned it. Never losing a single battle, he fought more than 100 engagements with brilliant precision. At Yarmouk, his outnumbered Arab forces crushed the Byzantines using split flanks and terrain traps. At Wallajah, he executed a double envelopment years before it became textbook warfare. He used mobility, deception, and desert survival like no one before him. And when he retired, not by defeat, but by choice. Quote appears on screen, "I've fought in so many battles, but I die as an old man on my bed." Khalid ibn al-Walid, Hannibal Barca. He swore eternal hatred for Rome as a boy, and he nearly brought the empire to its knees. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian genius who crossed the Alps with 40,000 men and war elephants. At Cannae, he annihilated a Roman army double his size. How? Encirclement. He drew Rome into a trap and crushed them from all sides. Even centuries later, generals like Napoleon and Schlieffen studied Hannibal's moves. He was a master of terrain, timing, and terror. Quote appears on screen, "We will either find a way or make one." Genghis Khan. He started as an orphan, became the ruler of the largest land empire in history. Genghis Khan transformed Mongol tribes into a war machine. His secret? Mobility, coordination, and fear. He used horse archers to encircle, cut off supply lines, and destroy morale. Cities fell not just to his armies, but to the fear of his name. From China to Europe, no one was safe from his storm. Quote appears on screen, "If you're afraid, don't do it. If you're doing it, don't be afraid." Julius Caesar. Part politician, part military genius, Julius Caesar conquered Gaul and defied a republic. At Alesia, he surrounded the surrounded, building 2 walls, one to keep the Gauls in, one to keep their reinforcements out. He mastered propaganda, engineering, and loyalty. Caesar didn't just win, he made sure everyone knew he won. And when the Senate tried to take his power, he crossed the Rubicon. The Republic died, and the Empire was born. Quote appears on screen, "Veni, vidi, vici, I came, I saw, I conquered." Napoleon Bonaparte. He was an artillery officer turned emperor. Napoleon Bonaparte redefined European warfare. At Austerlitz, he feigned weakness, then crushed 2 armies. His core system allowed rapid movement, autonomous units, and devastating flanks. He combined innovation with instinct, reading battlefields like a chessboard. Even in defeat, his influence lasted. Military academies still teach his campaigns today. Quote appears on screen, "The battlefield is chaos. The winner is the one who controls that chaos." Subutai Genghis Khan may have ruled the empire, but Subutai built it. He led over 65 campaigns, conquered more than 30 nations, and invaded Europe from two sides simultaneously. He used intelligence, coordination, and surprise like no other general. While one army held the enemy's attention, another attacked from 500 miles away. Deadly, silent, devastating. Erwin Rommel. To friend and foe alike, he was simply the Desert Fox. Erwin Rommel, Germany's finest tactician in World War II, mastered desert warfare. With limited supplies and outnumbered forces, he humiliated larger Allied forces again and again. Rommel emphasized initiative, movement, and calculated risk, a true field general. Even Churchill respected him. Quote appears on screen, "Sweat saves blood, blood saves lives, and brains save both." George S. Patton, colorful, controversial, brilliant. General George S. Patton led the U.S. Third Army on a rampage across Europe. He was obsessed with speed, discipline, and aggression. In just weeks, he pushed through German lines that were expected to hold for months. He wasn't just a general, he was a force, the Duke of Wellington quiet, calculated, precise. Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, was the man who finally beat Napoleon. At Waterloo, he held the line all day, waiting for Prussian reinforcements. He turned defense into victory by timing, patience, and grit. A true chess master of the battlefield. Vo Nguyen Giap. Against colonial France and then the United States, General Giap never backed down. He turned jungles into fortresses and farmers into fighters. At Dien Bien Phu, he stunned the world, defeating a superpower. His strategy? Endure, bleed, strike when the world least expects it. No one faced more brutality than the Eastern Front, and no one mastered it like Georgy Zhukov. At Stalingrad, he halted Hitler's advance. At Berlin, he delivered the final blow. Schucks used attrition, timing, and winter as his allies. He didn't flinch. He crushed. 12 minds, 12 paths. One common trait, genius in the face of chaos. They weren't just warriors. They were leaders, strategists, icons. They didn't follow history. They led it. Who do you think was the greatest general in history? Was it Alexander, Napoleon, Khalid, Rommel? Someone we missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you learned something. Subscribe if you want more epic stories from the battlefield. Because history isn't dead. It's just waiting for someone to unleash it.